Why do college students fail? Well, I would have to say having the wrong motivations is why college students fail.
Yeah, some students just fall in too deep. You know, it's a slippery slope, college life.
I think it's easy to get really distracted in college, and I just think it's mostly because of partying, and it's easy to fall behind.
I do believe that if they're not doing it for themselves or the career that they're truly interested in, or they haven't kind of weighed the own benefits in their own mind rather than as opposed to society or the standards of their friends or what's going to make their parents happy, then they just don't have any ambition towards the goal, and therefore they fail to succeed at it.
A lot of people come in not knowing what major they want, or even worse, they pick out a major and they don't know how they'll use it.
Midway through my first year, I just kind of felt out of place. I didn't feel like I was really going anywhere. I wasn't even sure of what major I wanted to be in. I hopped around majors 2 or 3 times before I decided, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. So I think it's good to at least give it some thought, or sort of focus on where you're going overall.
At least have a plan in mind of what you want now and what you're going to do with it later.
I think getting used to college is one of the hardest things. When you first start, you kind of are submerged into a new world where, you know, you either hit the ground running or you fall into a slump of, holy shit, I'm free.
Yeah, there's definitely more freedom, which can be good or bad depending on how you use it. It definitely prepares you for the real world, but at the same time, if you don't use it in the right way, you just do whatever you want instead of what you need to do in order to succeed, then you're not going to succeed.
I think it just depends on the person, really. Like, because I know people who have, you know, taken 20 units, worked a full-time job essentially, and still had a social life and still like passed their classes. So I honestly think it depends on the person and their motivation.
High school was an interesting time for me. I was kind of on that pedestal my whole life. I had been in advanced and gifted classes since kindergarten. They had asked me to skip grades several times. I a lot of times didn't have to show up or to care. There were several classes that I took and passed by the teachers liking me or by having a friend turn in my work for me. I was not present. I figured I was just smarter than everybody, and that everybody else was wasting their time. Now that I'm in college, I learned essentially that I fucked myself because I did a lot of silly things that I had to relearn later.
I didn't really do anything in high school. I had one binder. I carried that around to every class. You know, occasionally put handouts in it and, you know, wrote things down. Going to college was kind of like a slap in the face because it's like, hey, time to study. Like, whoa, I had to learn how to study in college. Getting that wake-up call saying, oh, I need to actually give in order to get the grade that I want.
The difference is consistency, I would say. You know, back in high school it's more structured. You go to class, do your activities, you go home, and then here it's you go to class, you know, go home, go back to class, and it's really just, I feel, chaotic in a way.
The positive part is you can do whatever you want after you're done with your class. The negative part is you can do whatever you want after that class.
You yourself have to take that into account and structure it yourself.
Too much damn freedom, man.
Not having special treatment I had to learn was going to be a thing once I got into college. To be seen as the smart kid or the top of the class, I didn't have to try necessarily for those things to be recognized, and now I do very much so have to try for those things to be recognized. I think that's the major difference, is that I just know that I actually have to try, and that I kind of set myself back a little bit by doing that. By being so sure of myself that I was so far ahead, I've kind of afforded myself to get a little behind in the race eventually.
I think a huge distraction is the fact that I don't have to come to class. You've already paid your class, for your class. Teachers don't give a shit if you show up or not.
Alcohol is the #1 distraction for everything. Socializing, trying to maintain a group of friends and maintaining your studies at the same time is difficult. It's not easy. It's just a matter of time management and being able to do that successfully.
Definitely it's easy to get distracted by drinking because it's just so prevalent. I used to live in a house it was a 4-bedroom house, 20 people lived there, and they'd be having parties and like drinking and smoking and running around screaming and hooking up, and I'm just sitting there like in front of an iMac with like a beer, and I'm in like a Snuggie. I think it's less about what situation I put myself in to study and more about which people I avoid when I'm studying. When I need to study, there are certain people I know not to be around because they're a distraction